Yo, what's happening, people? And welcome back to the Tiki Taka podcast, where you're going to hear hot takes, unbiased opinions, and hopefully have a couple laughs along the way. Now, today, as you can see from the title, we've got a different type of episode. We've got another top 10, one that's been in the works for a minute, been collating the list, getting them together, and it's topical because especially after this season, everybody's talking about Mo Salah and where he ranks among the greatest Premier League players. And there's conversations to be had. So today, we're going to be doing the top 10 all-time Premier League wingers. If you don't know how this works, I asked 6-7 people this time. I actually asked a Liverpool fan. So shout out Mitt for his list. And then I put them all together, assign them points. We come up with a combined top 10, and I'll read them out to you. So before we get into that, please like the video, comment, subscribe, do all of that.
Help us out.
Yeah, all of that jazz. And we may as well get straight into it because I know what you guys are here for. So we had 16 different names for our top 10 Premier League wingers across 7 different lists. And in 16th place to start us off was Mark Overmars.
Wow.
Who got 1 vote. In last place is in a 10th position from Matt. Stedman had him.
That's like, and look,
and I like the pick.
I'm a fan of Mark Overmars, obviously, but that feels like.
How much did Stedman watch Mark Overmars?
Yeah, it feels just a little too like. I can't even say hipster. That's not the right word, but You've done a lot. You've done a lot of mental gymnastics to get Mark Overmars into your top 10 list. For somebody of our age, of our like.
But the way guys talk about Mark Overmars,
you're serious. The quickest guy the Premier League has ever seen, and all of that kind of stuff. I rate him.
Like Arsenal signed him, they won their first title. He scored the goal at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
The only goal that won them. Essentially almost when I won them the league.
You see that celebration when is it Wiltor who jumps over him? It's Overmars, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know when he does this little thing.
That's at Old Trafford.
Yeah. Feel me. Look,
we won 1-0, and you know when we're talking about having to go on a run.
Yeah,
and they brought up in 1980 and what they did. They went to Old Trafford in March, and Overmars scores that goal, and they win 1-0.
It's all up for grabs now.
Yeah.
So look, I respect Mark Overmars,
but he was also only here for a couple of seasons, maybe less than that.
I don't know if he's a top 10. But I respect the shout.
I personally just can't say he's top 10 because I just didn't watch enough of him. But if my dad was making this list, I'm sure Overmars would be in his top 10. So shout out Stedman. Maybe you've checked the archives.
His third eye's open. Yeah.
You've done the research.
Yeah, for sure.
We can't get onto anyone for that. But yeah, Mark Overmars 16th. In 15th place, Heung-min Son. Again, 1 vote. In last place from, as you could have guessed, Michael Batt.
I'm
him 10th.
I'm also not mad at this. I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't have Son in my top 10, but I do respect Son as a Premier League winger, and as a winger in general. I think for a lot of the time he was always teetering on the edge of potentially being world class or being in that upper echelon that guys had like Mane and such players in during his time here in the Prem. But Son was nice. Son is 2-footed. Son's got the step overs. He's got the ability to create and score.
The BGB.
BGB. Like, I don't disrespect Son as much as a lot of other guys maybe typically tend to disrespect Son. I do think just as his wing play, Son was a good winger in the Premier League. He was a better winger than I ever thought he would ever be by far in the Premier League.
For sure. And even Jurgen Klopp came out recently. They asked him about if he regrets not signing anybody, and he said that his only one was Son.
And I was gonna say,
because he said that there was a deal almost done ready, and Daniel Levy did what Daniel Levy did. We know how much Daniel Levy needs Heung-min Son at the club.
Yeah. Extracurriculars.
You know what I'm saying?
The extracurricular income.
Yang Min Hook on the way. So,
his English is so great.
And that's what they always used to say, innit? That if Son was, that Liverpool team under Klopp was almost a perfect fit for him.
The thing I'll say about Son, apart from this season and maybe a lot of last season, obviously he's coming towards the end of his powers and the end of his time and all this kind of stuff. But like, even some of Son's worst seasons, he was still getting 10 goals, 8 assists. He was like a 10 and 10 guy in the league. almost on his worst seasons, on his worst form. Obviously, he's hit a wall now, and he's not a touchline winger in my mind. But throughout his wing career, what I'll describe as Son's wing career, even some of his worst, most tragic seasons, he's putting up numbers that sort of we're begging some of our best wingers to put up.
Yeah,
you know.
Agreed. And I think he even had seasons where he hit 20. So yeah, no, Son's like he's a Tottenham legend. I'm sure Tottenham fans will obviously love him. I don't think he makes a top 10 list because I think there's some very serious wingers. But fair enough.
I'll just give him his credit.
But as a Tottenham fan, he wants to put him in there. I hear it. 14th place, Freddie Ljungberg got two points, only one vote. Matt Stedman again had him 9th.
Stedman's really on the deep dive.
I love the Arsenal bias. I love the Arsenal bias in Stedman's list.
I don't know. I have to admit that he never crossed my mind in this list, and it's not because I don't rate Ljungberg. When you said wingers, I just envisioned a different type of player. I see Ljungberg as like, this is going to sound very hipster.
Inside forward.
Yeah.
But not Son. I feel like that was said about Son a lot during his career.
It was said about Son a lot during his career for sure, but I actually think that, for example, Ljungberg's a better inside forward than Son, and Son is a better winger. Like Son, I've seen Son do wing play.
Ljungberg was a 4-4-2 man.
Though. He was. But the way Arsenal used to love to use that, like we've seen Ramsey, we've seen Kleb, we've seen a lot of like almost central midfielders be Arteta, Arsenal's widest guy in a 4-4-2. So no disrespect to Ljungberg, I really do think Ljungberg was that guy. He was that player. He was that kind of person.
2 Premier League titles.
Invincible. The reason I didn't vote for him is because when I was trying to think of my top 10, he never crossed my mind as like. And maybe that, to be fair, you always leave the question open-ended, so people can pick and choose as they will. It just, when I was setting my parameters, Ljungberg never really quite fit the mold I was looking for.
Well, when we 13th, Alexis Sanchez, one vote, 9th place.
I'm the only person that voted for Sanchez.
You're the only one that had Alexis
Sanchez.
So you're talking about Ljungberg and your parameters. Yeah. So Alexis had. Obviously,
I've got a lot of personal bias in this pick for sure. I just feel as if, but
you sound surprised by that.
I'm surprised that I was the only. We got Mark Overmars and Ljungberg, and guys will get to
But I mean, those guys they're below. They got even less points than Sanchez.
Good, thank goodness.
Come on, bro. Ljungberg won. He's an invincible.
No, Ljungberg's that guy. Mark Overmars is also that guy. So it's no disrespect.
I'd almost argue that all three of them, and I don't want to put better careers. Could be above Alexis in a Premier League wingers list.
I think if you were speaking objectively, maybe not all three of them. The two Arsenal guys for sure. Yeah. But objectively, I would agree with you. I just have Sanchez in my top 10 wingers list, and I think there's a lot of this in terms of my ordering of where I put guys. There was a certain like feel and je ne sais quoi that I used to get watching Sanchez play football. Mm-hmm. I just felt as if Sanchez had it all. Tenacity, hunger, spirit, finishing off either foot, ability to create a goal, ability obviously to score a goal, win a header. Like, if there was anything I'm asking of a winger, I know Alexis Sanchez can do it. If I need my winger to be aggressive on 1v1s and get past guys, if I need my winger to get shots off, if I need my winger, whatever it is that you want your winger to do, Alexis Sanchez can do that. Something out of nothing, get the free kick in, whatever it is or was to be. I feel like Sanchez had at least 3 to 4 like really good years.
But then I'd almost make an argument that if Alexis can be on your list, maybe in a year's time, Bukayo Saka is the Alexis replacement.
No, 100%. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I think the thing that they share, and maybe this is why Alexis made my list, was I also remember the time when it was like 3 out of 4 teams in the Premier League either wanted Alexis or, like, in terms of just fan groups, wanted Alexis or really respected Alexis's game, or Alexis was, him and Ozil was one of the only 2 Arsenal players that was spoken about of an ilk of like, this is the reason Arsenal will get top 4. This is the reason, or this player gets into every team in the country, whatever it is. Bukayo could definitely be in that category now. But Alexis was the guy, as an Arsenal fan, I could go to bat for, who would also go to bat for me.
Yeah.
Like he would, I would talk big stuff about Alexis,
and he'd repay you.
and he would sit down your keeper and bury it.
The opposite of having Martinelli and Tony Ash on
exactly. Yeah. We're begging and scrapping for Martinelli.
We're propping you up every week. We're here on the desk. Yeah, please. But I agree with that. I think at one point Alexis was, even amongst rival fan bases, almost every other fan base other than Chelsea would have considered him the best player in the league. And that's because Chelsea fans would have propped up Eden Hazard and whatever. But I do think there was at least a season where Alexis was the best player in the league.
Yeah, I agree objectively. Like,
scored like 24.
He wouldn't make maybe many people's lists because obviously the stuff at United it brings him down so much. Yeah. But remembering what I remember about Alexis Sanchez, that winger, I don't know if I could name you that, especially that season that he had. I don't know if I could name you sort of 11, 12 other guys I would have ahead of that version of Alexis. I thought he was balling.
Yeah. And that's the best thing with these lists is that like everyone will judge it differently.
Yeah.
So
I've actually just seen the next name and I've done him a big disservice.
Yeah, I know you have.
Yeah.
Because this is my player. So in 12th place, who I'm a bit surprised didn't make the top 10, Leroy Sané, had one vote from me. I had him 8th. You know my love for Leroy Sané. There's rumors today that he's on a free contract in the summer, and Arsenal have had conversations, and I would love to see Leroy Sané play for my football club. But the version of Leroy Sané that came to the Premier League, I think he won back-to-back Premier League titles. The first season, I think he got 10 goals, 10 assists. The second season, he got 15 goals, 10 assists.
Yeah. He was
so instrumental, so electric, explosive player.
Maybe this is like too far to say or too like nostalgia-y or whatever it is. But I remember having the feeling of watching Leroy Sané and being like, we're in this almost a new dimension of football here with these kind of guys. The wingers that City used to have in particular with Sané.
It was almost like Pep's team is now... Now we see what Pep really wants to do.
Yeah, it was nasty work, man. What Sané could do to you off either wing, how Pep would use him, the blistering pace, the finishing of either foot.
BGB.
He was devastating.
You want to talk about scoring big goals? That goal that when they're going for the title
versus Liverpool, he was devastating.
And that's the way it kisses the post.
And he was tall, bro. It wasn't like he was like a aerial threat.
He's like 6'1" or something.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was an aerial threat like Ronaldo is or any of that kind of stuff. But he just wasn't easy to shove off the ball. You know, he just really, bro. Leroy Sané was a short peak in the Premier League. But definitely a high one. And I don't even think the numbers do his seasons justice. And 15 and 10 is cold.
I mean, it's not. The title.
15 and 10 is very cold. But I don't think those numbers necessarily even do his talent or what he was doing that season justice, bro.
Yeah.
He was definitely that guy.
Yeah. I was surprised that I was the only one that voted for him, but like you say, I think his time was kind of short, and as we might see later on, I feel like there's a lot of pep tax.
On certain players.
City players and this almost perception that none of Pep's forward players are like the guys. They all do their stuff and whatever, which maybe is true, but that's why when you see what Leroy Sané was doing, I had to put him in the list. Similar to the Alexis thing of like what I was actually watching was, I don't think I'd really seen that.
Yeah, I remember literally that distinct feeling of like, but this is modern. When guys talk about modern football and where players should be and what they're doing and stuff.
Like the speed, the athleticism, that, like you say, he was 6'1". He wasn't a smaller guy, breaking down the wing and whatever. On the Man City thing, obviously Leroy Sané is in 12th. In 11th, we have Raheem Sterling. Now this is even more surprising to me because he only had 2 votes, right? Arman had him 7th, and I had him 9th, right? So I had him 1 place below Leroy Sané. And I couldn't believe that Raheem Sterling only got votes from 2 people.
I actually, and I really rate Raheem as my guy. I think part of me was impacted by bias. Yeah. And the recency bias of a lot of things that have happened.
That's why he's 9th for me.
Like, I agree with you that I think Raheem Sterling has had a brilliant career. I think he's overachieved.
I mean, to say he's not top 10 Premier League wingers, I think is very...
Yeah, it's harsh. He's already got 100 goals. He's already got all of this
How
kind of
many,
stuff.
4,
Yeah,
5
yeah.
titles?
You know, and one of my biggest praises of Raheem Sterling is that when you're this young player that's coming up into the team and you're quick, and you know, there's a lot of hype on a lot of these players, and almost like, you know, 7 out of 10 of them fail. Like 7 out of 10 of them don't go on to become as highly touted as people thought they would have been or should have been, or the expectations that they've put on their career, what they're going to achieve, what they're going to do. And I think if it comes to achieving titles, obviously he's achieved those titles, but I think also just in his all-round gameplay, like even if he was to remove the titles from Sterling's game,
scoring records,
I think he's achieved the potential that people saw of him, or overachieved the potential that people saw in him when he was that 19-year-old in Liverpool, when he was that like 17-year-old in Liverpool, wherever
I think
it was.
I think he's overachieved that.
And I think that, say I give Ronaldo or I give LeBron and some of these other guys massive credit for, like when there is a lot of expectation put on you and you actually end up meeting it or overachieving it. Like now, obviously certain guys will say whatever they say about Sterling, how his career is potentially finishing, but he hit those heights and he stayed there consistently. He didn't have a 1-season wonder. He didn't have a 2-season wonder where he was a decent winger for 2 years. Bro, he's a decent winger for 5-6 years.
Yeah. And look, if he'd won 1, maybe 2 Premier League titles, you could say he met his expectation or whatever, yeah. But he won like 4 with the scoring records, like you say. One of the biggest things about Sterling to me, is that I look at Leroy Sané and maybe some of the other players that might make this list. They were Pep signings.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously, I think all of Raheem Sterling's league titles came under Pep, but he was signed by Pellegrini.
Yeah.
So, and it's not usual for Pep in any position
to take someone on.
To take, like he had to go and bring Kyle Walker, who was his guy. He had to go and bring Cancelo, Gundogan, Rodri, all of these players, right? And especially forward players, Pep wants his guys to do certain things. And so for Raheem Sterling to adapt from and learn the Pep way and become so integral to the Pep system, I think he gets a lot of almost disrespect because the quote unquote big chances that Raheem Sterling
has missed
are like very clear in people's minds.
Yeah. But he was always that player though.
Yeah, he was. But then when you go and start we watched the Leon game.
Yeah.
And Raheem Sterling misses a massive chance in that game and whatever. But you can't kill the guy for that when he's done everything. So I was surprised that he only had 2 votes.
I mean, we saw that tweet in a couple of years ago about how important Sterling was to a lot of those title runs. When City
those December, January run-ins.
When City go on those like 10, 16, 17 game winning streaks and you find out that Sterling has scored 10 goals, 11, 12 goals in 17 games. Yeah. You know, when a lot of them are winners or go-ahead goals or whatever it is. Bro, I think Sterling should have been in my list. If he wasn't so terrible at Arsenal, I think I would have had an easier time to choose him.
Yeah.
But I definitely, and that's even like not us mentioning him being England's best player for certain tournaments a couple years in a row. Like Sterling he's done it, and I would never argue against someone who has Sterling in their top 10 Premier League wingers list, because kind of like the Sanchez thing that I was saying, whatever you're asking of him, I've seen him do it on a consistent basis for a long time. Beat guys, put balls in the box that are dangerous, you know, defend the back post, all that kind of stuff. I've seen Sterling do that.
Yeah.
You know, and we talk about the misses versus Leon. Do you remember the stuff versus Tottenham, the offside goals that are marginal? That changes careers, innit?
Yeah.
Marginal offsides and stuff like that. Because if City go on to win that semi-final, quarter-final, wherever it was, versus City, I think they go on the whole way. And obviously, you can never know.
Yeah.
You can never know. But marginal stuff, man. Marginal stuff in his career.
It's funny because actually Son was the guy knocking them out and whatnot. But yeah, I think for Raheem Sterling, I think there's a lot of again, a lot of people will throw the thing of like, obviously he left Chelsea. I mean, he left City, went to Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel was there for like 2 months and then he got sacked and then different things happened. And people want to say that Sterling's a system player. And he can only play for Pep and Pep just put him in the right positions and he had to score tap-ins. But I always feel like it's harsh to blame a player for being good enough to play for the best team where you get the most chances. Like if he's good enough to go and play there, and he's good enough to go and do that. And obviously, there's more to it about timing of the runs and intelligent stuff and whatever. But I feel like that's harsh to level against him.
I agree with that, and I feel as if it's come back around though, because like it's not just that he's won all his titles with Pep, it's also that he hasn't scored as many goals as he scored and stuff playing for any other manager. Because I definitely thought that he was going to do well at Chelsea, or like he was going to be a 15 goal a season striker. I didn't think a striker winger, like I didn't think he was going to get 20 and stuff that he was getting at City or comps, but I thought he'd be enough of a contributor. However,
I thought he'd bag a couple at Arsenal.
Yeah. However, I do think that the whole Pep system player thing, this was like, there was a couple years, it was a discussion of Filthy, but I had it with so many guys in real life of like, such and such plays for City. If I played for City, I'd get 20 goals. If I played for City, I'd get 20 goals. If I played for City, I'd get 20
Antonio
goals.
said it. Do you remember when Mikel Antonio went on Filthy and he said, if I played for City, I'd score 30 goals?
I think now that Sterling's left, Sane's left, Mahrez is left, obviously will come on, a couple other guys have left. Yeah. These replacements, they're not getting 20 goals. These are good players.
Yeah.
Savinho and Doku and Grealish and all these guys. These are good wingers, good players. A lot of you probably would have said Grealish is a better talent or whatever than Sterling was back then when he signed for City, and none of them have ended up hitting Pep's numbers. Or the numbers that we would associate with Pep's wingers during the time. So I think it's come back around for Sterling, where it was like people keep saying he's a system player and he's this and he's that, and now we're putting other players into the system and we're also not getting the same results.
Yeah. It's true. And look, we'll move it on. So those were 16th to 11th: Overmars, Son, Lundberg, Alexis Sanchez, Leroy Sané, and Raheem Sterling. We've got to the top 10 now. So 10th place, 3 votes. Michael Batt had him highest. He had him 4th. Gareth Bale.
Wow.
Now, I don't think you didn't have Bale, did you? Yeah.
I had him. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was a bit of a funny
one. Yeah, Mitt had Bale. Amon had Bale, and obviously Batt had him the highest. Now, the Gareth Bale, that's someone I was thinking of when you were talking about Alexis Sanchez.
Yeah.
You were talking about maybe individual seasons and a peak and whatever.
I agree with that.
I can understand why people put Gareth Bale on this list, but where Batt, and obviously Batt's a Tottenham fan, but where Batt's had him above some of the other guys, it's
a bias thing.
Yeah. I don't understand.
My thing with Bale is what I was saying about Sanchez. I think the reason I was flirting with Bale on the list, or the reason I can see anybody putting Bale on the list, isn't necessarily because Gareth Bale is actually a top 10 Barclays Premier League wing or whatever it is, but because his peak, I think, apart from the top 2 to 3 guys, his peak can almost chat to anybody's peak. If you just want to put in 18 months of Premier League football and like what they were doing for their team, almost like an MVP thing, like in the NBA, where it's like who was the most valuable player to their team of peaks.
Yeah.
I think. And Tottenham didn't achieve that much that season, but I don't think they would have even been a talking point.
Yeah.
If Gareth Bale wasn't slapping them in,
he scored every goal, basically.
25, 30. And it isn't just that he was scoring every goal, but they were just flying in every week, 25, 30 yards, 30 or 40 yards, free kick, half volley, whatever.
He transitioned from a left back to a number 10.
And got so good that it was like, he's not just scoring left back goals in the 10. He's scoring winger goals, 10 goals. He's ripping man, shattering the net.
Yeah,
so
snapshots.
I can only concede that fact that I think his peak can chat to a lot of guys' peaks, but obviously it's difficult because he didn't actually spend a lot of his career playing as a winger, and then he had 2 good seasons as a winger or a year and a half and then left.
Yeah. But then him making this list, making the actual top 10 over Sterling and Sané and I know it's a bit dodgy to me, but
he's not been a better Premier League winger than Sterling.
Yeah,
he's not been a better Premier League winger than even Son, for example, who I would say is like they've both achieved the same thing in the Premier League. But like Son had 4 to 5 years of consistently getting above 15 goals. But I do think that there is a certain, like, as I was saying with Alexis, je ne sais quoi, that how Bale was doing it it felt
yeah.
massive.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
felt
Restore the feeling.
yeah.
Good door.
But I hear you though. I don't think he is a better winger than a lot of the guys we've already spoken about.
Premier League at winger.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
at least. So Gareth Bale in 10th place, and the best thing about Gareth Bale is he forced the move.
Yeah, and not just that.
Levy tried to tell him that the fax machine wasn't working, and
I remember that they were pulling up to Bale's crib, and he was just like stood in his underwear on the balcony.
Yeah.
See, Tottenham fans are training. Sorry, Tottenham players are training.
He refused to come to training.
Panning to Bale, and
Harry Kane. The example was that. That's how you need to leave the club if you want to leave the club. And look at how guys view Gareth Bale, man. Bats put him fourth. 9th place. Sadio Mane.
Yeah.
6 votes. So a lot of votes for Sadio Mane. Everyone had him around 8th. I think the highest might have been 6th. But yeah, no, 6 lists. So literally, so everyone had him, which I think speaks volumes for the player that Sadio Mane is. When there's a lot of like, when you give out these lists, there's a lot of like you say, personal bias, personal whatever. But Sadio Mane, unanimous.
We've all agreed.
First name here on this list that everybody has put in.
You know what I'm gonna say about Sadio Mane, man? The fact that he would almost always score the first
1-0.
goal.
Yeah.
Every time, and like I would watch Liverpool games, sort of like everybody else would. But if Liverpool and Arsenal are playing at the same time, and I'm just looking at Liverpool scores, and Liverpool go a goal up, I just always know it's Sadio Mane.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what foot. It could be a header, could be whatever.
Yeah, all types of goals.
Sadio had it all in his game. He had the BG beating as well. But one thing I will actually mention on Sadio that I think benefited him was that he left his career on top. He left the Premier League on top.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like his playing style can, like, when you have a bad season or 2 bad seasons or a couple of bad misses or whatever it is, like, because of his playing style, the revisionism can also be so nasty.
Raheem Sterling.
Exactly. The revisionism can also be so nasty where you lose a yard of pace or your shot isn't as like pinpoint accurate as it was before and stuff. And then guys start to say, well, you were never this scorer, or you were never this prolific, or you were never this or that. You're just a like Sean Wright Phillips with a good team, or whatever it is that guys would say.
Yeah.
So I think the benefit for Sadio Mane, he had however many good seasons he had at Liverpool. He had that one season at Southampton where he was top. But he left in everybody's mind as that, like, the Mane we think of is that Mane. We don't even think of the Sterling. We're going to still have to fight for Sterling's career gap. Remember what he did.
Alexis.
We won't be saying that. Alexis, we won't be saying that for Mane. It will just be like, the Mane at Liverpool was 6 guys in 6 random guys are going to vote for him as in their top 10 somewhere.
I remember during their time at Liverpool together, there was a lot of people, and it was at least a debate about Mane and Salah.
Salah's numbers, but Mane's more important.
Yeah, who was actually better? And I always, for the longest time, I stood on Mane's side of that debate. Obviously, Salah's gone on now to just
do certain things,
even better than it seems like he was before. But similar to that thing of 1-0 Mane, but also it just seemed like in the big games, it was almost always Sadio Mane.
Yeah, he had that, man. He had that. And it was a weird. I was jealous. I'm not gonna be honest. I was jealous because it's like you can sign a decent winger from Southampton, but how many of them turn out to be world beaters?
Yeah.
Why is Mane not just a good squad player?
Yeah,
he's turned out to be a world beater by Bayern Munich. I'm gonna do all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
For Liverpool in the Champions League and.
Sorry, we've got Semenyo coming.
But I got a lot of respect and time for Mane, man.
Yeah, same. I think he basically won everything whilst he was here. And like we said, he scored those big goals. Now in 8th place, and this is going to be a funny one to talk about, because in 8th place is Thierry Henry. 8th place, because he only had 2 votes.
Okay, but he was top on 2 people's list.
You had him first.
Yeah.
And Mitt had him third.
Okay.
And the reason he only got 2 votes, at least from me and what I can imagine for everyone else,
they considered him a striker.
They just don't see him as a winger.
Yeah.
So if we did a top 10 Premier League strikers list,
he'd be top of my list too.
Yeah. And he'd probably be top of a lot of people's lists here. So that's the only, because there's no way Matt, whoever else has done this, don't have Henry in their list.
If you got Overmars and Lundberg,
but he's made it to 8th place on our list, so we may as well talk about him.
I mean, look, he's Henry, man. I don't know what guys need to say. I had him on my list because he was signed as a winger, spent a couple years as a winger, and even when he was a striker,
I was in the left channel.
He was still very much on the wing play type thing, and I don't need another reason to talk about Henry. If you don't know the talent, do your Googles, do your research, watch the history, and we'll go from there. Look, he's Henry, man. Honestly,
that's it. Yeah.
yeah.
He's what everybody looks at in the Premier League now, especially as Arsenal fans and Arsenal players. Still, they want to join Arsenal because of Thierry Henry and because of what Thierry Henry did. And
immense
ex pros, ex centre backs will talk about the toughest opponent they've come up against almost unanimously. They say Thierry Henry. There's not too much more we can say to wax lyrical about Henry.
I agree with you.
He is who he is. And look, at some point we'll probably do a top 10 Premier League strikers list. And we'll have the chance to talk about Henry in more detail. But he's an Arsenal legend. He's an Arsenal great. And that's the only reason he's got 2 votes is because I guess guys just didn't see him as a winger. Because in 7th place is another Arsenal man, Robert Pires. Got 6 votes. So now, again, everybody's voted for Robert Pires. And Stedman had him the highest. He had him 4th.
Stedman's list.
He's repping Arsenal.
He's
repping Arsenal big time. Let me have a look. I had him 7th. You had him 7th. But Robert Pires was a bad boy player. Robert Pires was cold.
Robert Pires.
The stop-start, the shuffle.
I like...
he's Yoga Benito.
I like a winger every now and again that isn't using sort of pace and power as his like dominant attributes.
Bremo.
Yeah. You know, it's a skill. It's a skillful position. I mean, you can argue all positions on football are skillful, but the winger in particular, man, if you have a trick, if you have a bag to get to that bag. And I think Robert Pires was that guy, and he wasn't Neymar or anything like that, but he knows how to get you off balance. He knows how to get you moving, and he knows how to take advantage of that. And obviously, he's been instrumental in a lot of stuff that Arsenal have won. All round, similar to Thierry, not in the same breath, but, you know, I feel like I hear a lot of, like, random guys speak about the trouble that Pires used to give him, or like, in particular, how I say, like, styles make fights.
Gary Neville talks about it all the time.
Yeah, I can imagine Pires being the kind of guy as a right back that a certain right back would struggle against. Maybe you're hoping for a dominant pace and powerful winger, and then you get Robert Pires who wants to occupy certain spaces and wants to take the ball on the one touch and half turn and all of this kind of stuff.
The thing Gary Neville says is like he's not a touchline winger.
Yeah.
So Gary Neville's there, right back, and Robert Pires is coming into this space between him and Rio, and they don't know who's going to go and pick him up. And if they go and pick him up, then Bergkamp's spinning and Ashley Cole's going and Thierry Henry's in that channel and whatever else it is. But there was a level of intelligence from Robert Pires' play. It was very nice. It was very French. It was very he scored big goals as well. I think his first goal for Arsenal, because he came and he had a bit of a sticky period. And then his first goal came in against Tottenham. And you know when you do that, it
changes everything.
Everything's going to be good after that.
Yeah.
It's all going to go up from
rainbows
there.
and sunshine.
Yeah. And yeah, I just from the goals that I've seen Robert Pires score, they're all just very, very nice goals. Very, 1-2 touch.
Elegance takes a little bit. Yeah.
So shout out Robert Pires. I absolutely love Robert Pires as a footballer. Playing on that left-hand side caused a lot of problems for a lot of fullbacks. So he was 7th place. In 6th place, Man United fans, perk up. You've got some representation now.
Yeah.
David Beckham, again, voted for by everybody, similar to Robert Pires. I think you had him the highest. You had him 5th.
Yeah.
I had him 6th. Everybody had him around that sort of place. I think David Beckham, he's won what he's won. He obviously had the fallout with Fergie, and then went to Madrid. But whilst he was here, guys talk about David Beckham like they hadn't seen a player with that technical level ever.
Ever. Bending like Beckham.
Yeah,
Just that whole analogy.
Even because Eric Cantona had come to the league at that point. For guys like Eric Cantona, it was a bit like
I had Beckham 5th just because I think he like the total package on the field, off the field. I feel like he set not the standard, but he set the like ball in motion for what we recognize as wingers today. Like normally the play, and I can't even necessarily say that Beckham had or didn't have flair, but the whole sort of 7 on his back, carries himself with a certain like
aura,
and like when he gets on the ball, you expect to see, as you say, stuff that you'd maybe just haven't
do you remember
seen
the start
before.
with the long hair and
you feel me?
I've seen the Beckham doc, and they're talking about his missus getting a lot of stick at Old Trafford. Sir Alex Ferguson not being happy about what's going on off the pitch.
So that's my thing about why I respect Beckham.
I think they even say it in the doc. He's almost like, and obviously he goes on to Real Madrid anyway, but in the Premier League, he's almost like the first sort of superstar, like real superstar. This guy is doing stuff outside the football that might actually make him just bigger than a footballer.
But the whole, and wingers like were wearing 7 before Beckham, but I just feel the concentration of everybody wanting to wear number 7, take a free kick in a certain way, be great at free kicks. You know, a lot of it stemmed from people trying to emulate Beckham, and that's why I'll always give him his respect. We have Ronaldo and guys that have come after him that have taken it obviously to a different level as well, but I will definitely always give Beckham his respect. And it's not just that he was an off the field icon; he was cold with it.
He
won Premier League titles. He was cold with it. It's almost as if
Treble winner.
it's almost as if like now maybe his talent gets overshadowed by everything else that he did.
Yeah, I agree.
But
United fans will make the case, and this is my opinion, but United fans make the case that he should have won the Ballon d'Or in 1999 when I can't remember who won it.
Was that Owen?
I think
Owen was 2000.
Yeah, I think Rivaldo won it.
Okay, well you can't complain if Rivaldo's won it.
I'm just saying, Man United fans, because Man United won the treble and that year they won the Champions League, they won the league. I think Beckham obviously provides 2 assists. They score from 2 corners in that final, and Beckham puts both. That's the argument Man United fans put forward. But look, I agree with you, man. I think, and then you look at someone who you say this a lot about winning titles in different countries.
Yeah.
How many places he then went on to go and play in?
Yeah,
I think there's just a certain way that like Beckham used to strike the ball that like I don't even know if we see that in today's game.
Yeah. That bend that Beckham stuff is real. It's no joke.
Yeah.
That free kick versus Greece.
Yeah.
I will forever live on. Forever live on. I couldn't believe he's just lashed that one in.
Everybody remember that. And he had a tough time and he speaks about this in the doc, but when Simeone gets him sent off, I want to say that was 2002.
Yeah.
Or it might have even been 98 actually, but Simeone gets him sent off and Glenn Hoddle, who's the manager, comes and throws him under the bus a bit and says that, well, we've lost that game because of David Beckham. Because David Beckham got sent off, so we had to play with 10 players. The English media came after him, the English fans, the public, they were burning effigies of David Beckham. And he came back the next season. He was going to like away. I think their first game was away at West Ham. The West Ham fans were booing him every time he got the ball. He was getting away to
his home fans.
Yeah, and these
Leytonstone.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying, right? He was getting all of these away fans or all of these away stadiums are just booing Beckham. They've never booed him before, but they're booing.
It's come for adversity,
right? So, and there's a lot to be said about that. Obviously, he had this beef with Alex Ferguson, but he's won what he's won. He's a treble winner.
Yeah,
and he's made our list in 6th place. So. And United fans,
I think it would be kind of crazy to not have a top 10 list, Premier League specific list. Wingers as well, to have that niche and not have David Beckham,
for sure. And look, his technical level was so good. He went and played centre midfield in his career, which you only really see like Italian players and German players kind of do. But David Beckham went and did that. So 5th place now, and this makes me upset.
That's where things get interesting.
This makes me very upset. I don't even want to say that this guy is 5th place because he should be a lot higher than this. But the good thing is everybody voted for him. Riyad Mahrez, fifth place. We'll get into it, but everybody voted for him. I had him second.
Yeah.
On my list, which was the highest. You had him sixth, behind certain players who we'll speak about in a bit, and we can make those comparisons. Bat had him seventh. Mitt had him seventh. Even Oman, who's meant to be a Mahrez guy, had him fifth. I had him second because I think Riyad Mahrez, even if you want to, a lot of guys want to throw the Man City thing that I mentioned earlier. He's a bit part player and
Yeah.
did his thing, and everybody else was kind of doing more around him, which I don't think is true. I think Mahrez was very important to maybe two of the titles that he won at City, and at least did what he needed to do in the other ones. He's a treble winner as well. But if you remove all of that, the two biggest points I can make about Riyad Mahrez are winning the league at Leicester, which I'm not sure, and obviously it's hypothetical, we can't judge that, but I'm not sure any other player in this list from 1 to 16 would do.
Mm-hmm.
And winning AFCON, which we'll get onto because that's going to be a big argument I make when some of the other players come along.
Hey, AFCON's huge.
Winning AFCON.
You need to tell me.
With Algeria, he scored a free kick in the semi-final that took him through. He scored big goals along the way. I don't think there's, like, people want to talk about trophies and honours until it comes to Riyad Mahrez, treble and AFCON, and then they want to talk about individual seasons, and then it comes to PFA Player of the Year at Leicester. And
I think I agree with everything that you've said. I think the only reason I had Mahrez where I had him, I literally was like tossing a coin between Mahrez and Beckham about who should be fifth or sixth. And I went for Beckham only because of the overall everything. Overall package, everything. But look, I'm not here to disagree with any point you make about Mahrez. I feel as if maybe, I don't want to say underappreciated, because I don't actually really hear people throw too much disrespect on Mahrez's name, only when it comes to like
other guys.
Salah,
Yeah.
You know, Hazard or whatever it is. But in terms of like, if somebody just starts a conversation about Mahrez, I don't really hear people being like, oh, but Mahrez was only this player, or he was only that player, or he was X, Y, and Z. Mahrez deserves his respect. Mahrez deserves his credit. I think the stuff that comes away with me for Mahrez was maybe more than almost anybody on this list. Did Mahrez maybe have that for me, like silky, I don't know what you call it, man. Just this thing that you expect, that jinky that you expect wingers to have. Like Mahrez did everything he did in the game, the AFCON, the 5 Premier Leagues, you know, treble Champions League, all that kind of stuff. But and you talked about his contribution, bro. It's not just that Mahrez was scoring back post tap-ins. Mahrez was cold. Mahrez he almost embodies Jogo Bonito. Mahrez gets you off your feet. Yeah. Mahrez, that would be one of my biggest takeaways from Mahrez.
I think he's got the best first touch of
damn near anybody on the list,
almost anybody I've seen.
Yeah, Mahrez as a winger, you could put Mahrez's highlight. In America, they call it mixtape. You know, they talk about his high school mixtape.
Yeah,
you can put Mahrez
bag work.
Yeah.
Mahrez bag work.
You can put Mahrez's bag work. You can put Mahrez's mixtape. I think with any winger on this list, mixtape, best goals, best moments, best touches, whatever you want to do. And you could slightly lean towards Mahrez. I feel like that is one of the biggest appreciations that I have with Mahrez. I guess he was very Algerian in that respect.
Yeah.
Was that Mahrez had the it factor.
Yeah.
He had the it factor. I can watch Mahrez play football all day, not get bored.
The way like the switch ball would come and Riyad Mahrez would take his first touches setting up the shot.
Yeah, he's killed that dead.
Other people need to take the foot, not just kill it dead. Other people, they might kill it dead, and then they might take a second touch, and then a third touch. Mahrez's first touch is not killed it, but rolled it into his path perfectly.
I completely agree with you that maybe he should have been higher on the list. Maybe he should have got more love. And I think you already know what's holding him back. You've mentioned it. I think the only thing holding Mahrez back, and maybe the title at Leicester should supersede that. But even despite winning PFA Player of the Year, I think people might still argue that he wasn't the best player on the Leicester team. And that's the thing. I think that's the only thing that holds Mahrez back.
Yeah.
Is that there isn't a unanimous team where guys are like, you're the best player. Everyone else we're going to mention, guys would unanimously say, or more, maybe not unanimous, but like by a majority vote would say they were the best player on said team when they ended up winning said trophy. And it's not that Mahrez wasn't. I'm not saying that Mahrez wasn't. I'm just saying that it's not a consensus.
Yeah. But you know what? When we pull up the rest of the names, I don't know if it's going to be a consensus. Like for me personally, I think Mahrez is the best player. Was the best player on that Leicester team, and obviously there's Kante, there's Vardy, there's whatever.
Yeah. There's Kante and there's Vardy.
But if you want to make a consensus, if we want to start throwing other names in and making a debate, I think when we get to the other but on your point about, because we're going to talk about them with Salah and Hazard, I think there is a disrespect when it's almost as if there's a Salah Hazard debate,
and then there's
Mahrez isn't in that one.
Yeah.
Mahrez,
no, I agree with that.
I agree with that. And for me, like I said, I've got him second. Because I also just used to love watching Mahrez play. So here, consensus that somebody's the best player in the team. In fourth place, we have Ryan Giggs, who again got votes from everybody. Me, Stedman, and Oman had him third, and you actually had him last.
I had him 10th only because I had Ryan Giggs / Bale.
Yeah.
For like the opposite reasons. I respect Ryan Giggs' 13 Premier League trophies, but I think Bale's short peak was probably better a peak than Ryan Giggs has ever had in the Premier League.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not going to disagree. I've got him third, and the only reason I have him
it's the 13
because I think that's so nuts.
Yeah. I'll give him the 13, and it's one and the same thing, but like the longevity, scoring a goal in every season for 20 years or whatever the hell he did.
Yeah.
Like everything that comes into the longevity thing, and they told us about his yoga lessons, and they told us about his stretching and all the stuff that he was doing to staying fit and stuff. Like, it does deserve some round of applause, some sort of merit, but I've got to admit, I'm not like a Ryan Giggs guy. Like, I struggle hard.
I'm not a Ryan Giggs guy.
I struggle hard
to make that abundantly clear.
I struggle hard to put Ryan Giggs in these sort of lists. If he had won 12 or 11, I could snub him. Yeah. But 13 Premier League,
come on,
all of the ones with Fergie, every single one of them with Fergie, all of Fergie's medals are your medals.
Yeah. Oh, they gave him a pity PFA Player of the Year.
Yeah, when they thought he was leaving.
Yeah, when they thought it was over and whatnot. The year they won the treble, if you do the deep dive and you do the research, I think maybe Ryan Giggs scored 3 Premier League goals. So when I say that the only reason he's third on my list is because he's won 13 Premier League titles, that's almost entirely the only reason.
I hear it.
Like, because I think 13, I think most football clubs aren't going to match that. So how does one player have that? Like, even Paul Scholes, like you say, if he has 11, well, you can snub him.
Yeah.
13.
Every one of them.
Fergie didn't. It's Jordan and Pippen, but Fergie didn't win one without you.
Literally. So I hear you, man.
So I just had to put him there.
And I would agree that he does kill my like best player consensus thing, but it's just, it's what.
But that's look, enough on Ryan Giggs. Like we say, he made everyone's list. So again, United fans probably think he should be higher. And look, the 13 is crazy. The two guys that, well, we'll get onto one of them, but I've got me personally, I have Mahrez above Giggs because, I mean, Mahrez has 5. He has the treble, but then he also has the
AFCON
trophy and the one with Leicester and all of that. Yeah. So in third place now, and this is going to be controversial because there's Chelsea fans that watch this podcast who have investments in their boy.
Mm-hmm.
There's Liverpool fans who have investment in this podcast who have their boy. And Arman, who's a Chelsea fan, I asked for his list. He had Eden Hazard second. He's third overall. Voted for by everyone. Michael Batten on one obviously had him second. Matt actually had him 7th.
Jeez.
So Stedman bumped him down the list. Stedman had some choice words
to say about Hazard.
And Salah and what Salah's gone on to do, and there's no comparison there. And ultimately, Hazard's finished third on our combined list. We're not here to rub him out, and Hazard's a special footballer. He was 4th on my list. again, he's behind Giggs on my list, but he's better than Ryan Giggs. But 2 to 13, I was like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
can I really
You have to do that,
here,
man.
right? Eden Hazard, I agree with you. Consensus. Both times they won the Premier League, he is the best player on the team. That one.
I just think that you said it, man. He was a special player, and I think there was a lot of guys that were,
or maybe David Luiz.
There was a lot of guys that were tuning in to watch Chelsea just to watch Hazard play, just to watch Hazard do something, just to watch something come out of nowhere from Eden Hazard. I think he might be one of the more edge of your seat players on the list. Like, stuff did just tend to happen with the ball at his feet.
Yeah.
And I think as well, a lot of people loved Hazard's like off the cuff nature. It wasn't today's game. Like, a lot of the best players in today's game look cold and they look great and they look everything, but it looks as if they're like mechanically working through a process,
systematic.
Now I do this, and now I do that.
I hug the touchline. When this guy gets the ball, I make this run.
Now that he's made this movement, I make that movement.
Yeah,
Hazard felt very much like football. Like, this is I'm just gonna go as and when the ball needs me to go. I'm gonna make the intelligent run as and when it's time to make the intelligent run. And I think, one of the bigger compliments I have for Hazard is just that he made almost like he must have been in the Premier League for like 6 or 7 seasons, yeah. And I would say for like 5 of those seasons, he made like big game clashes.
Yeah.
Like, it was always good to either see Hazard.
But he decided the league title 2 years in a row.
He decided that he was either going to bury a team, or like, it was great to see a team get the best of Chelsea with Eden Hazard. If you pulled out a win at Stamford Bridge and you saw Hazard was hands down, head in hands, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like, I really respect him for making those games interesting. I still remember that game versus Man City when they won 3-1 in the end, and like, City should have scored. De Bruyne hit the post or whatever it was, crossbar, whatever it was, and then Hazard. So you're gonna give me a chance now? I'm just gonna change this game.
Who is it that he cooks? Colorado.
Yeah. Wrap that one near post.
Yeah, great goal.
So I respect Hazard for a lot of reasons. The trophies and all that kind of stuff.
2 different systems.
All of that stuff. But I think just his jogo bonito-ness, if that's a word, and his ability to make big games feel like big games. Like, this was a title decider. If Chelsea won that one or lost that one or whatever it was, that this team is capable of winning the title.
Yeah, 100%. Some people, Liverpool fans, probably will level at Eden Hazard that he almost had a season off. Thing, right? Where he didn't. I think he scored maybe 5 goals or whatever it was.
But even that season, though, he came back at the end.
Yeah, I think that might have been the season where he scores a goal against Tottenham, and obviously Liverpool fans, versus Liverpool, making the point for their boy.
They're consistent.
They have to raise that to make their argument and whatnot. But for Eden Hazard, I think one of the special things about Eden Hazard is, and Chelsea fans will probably remember this, there's a game where Chelsea played West Ham, and I remember I was at uni Monday night, and I sat down and I watched that game, and it was just, I was just watching this, like, this guy doesn't seem real. What he's doing on the pitch right now. And I haven't really thought that about many players at all, especially like if you just look at 190 minutes, he just tore West Ham to shreds, just one player. And then Sarri came in, and Eden Hazard, who's been a left winger his whole career, becomes a number 10 and has his best Premier League season numbers wise, right? Then goes to Belgium in that 2018 World Cup.
Out.
They knocked out Brazil. I think he could have been the best player at that World Cup. Obviously, Mbappe does his thing. Pogba's ball in there and whatnot. But Hazard was right up there.
And they lost to France, didn't it? 1-0.
Yeah, they lost to France, yeah. But the comps from Hazard at that World Cup was so good. Not quite Riyad Mahrez, because he didn't get his hands on the trophy, but
he was also the Messi-esque kind of guy. I feel like there was a lot of those Messi comparisons, and for a long time, it's not that he was Messi, but like, they played football in a similar style of like the joy it used to bring people watching Messi play was be similar to watching Hazard play.
Yeah,
just dribbling through players, dropping shoulders, guys are falling on the floor. Shots off both foot, just seems to be more intelligent than other people on the pitch. And
sorry, I thought you were talking about Riyad Mahrez. No, yeah, look, Hazard deserves all of that praise, all of those props, and one of the best things about Hazard is he let Arsenal fans know that Coquelin just was not.
It was not at this level. Yeah.
Whatever hype we have for Coquelin,
it's over. It's done.
It's finished.
It's dead and buried.
We'll leave him on the floor. We'll go down the other end and we'll score. And look, we don't want to talk about it because I hate going back there. Darkest times as an Arsenal fan. Baku. There's not more of a. To this day, and you can call me crazy because we lost 4-1. Yeah, I think we were a better team than Chelsea. Yeah, I think
they just had Hazard.
I think we were better. We played them twice that year, right? And at home, we absolutely moved to them under Sarri. 1-2-0. I think Laka scored on whatever. We were balling up Aubameyang and Lacazette. To this day, right? And you'll call me crazy. I think we were a better team than Chelsea, and at 0-0 at half time. 45 minutes of Eden Hazard.
Yeah, that's all it took.
Absolutely washed. I think he puts the ball in for the first goal, maybe. He scores a pen. Sets up
it's all over,
whoever else it is. I think there was just a 45-minute takeover there. I'm just like, there's not really anything we can do here.
You can have that one.
So, as you can imagine, if Hazard's sitting in third place, that means that in second place, beaten by a total of 3 points, again voted for by everybody. Mohamed Salah, Mitt had him first, who's obviously the Liverpool fan. Shout out Mitt for the list. He had him above Ronaldo. He actually was one of the guys who put Henry on his list, and he had Salah first, Ronaldo second, Henry third. And look, I had Salah fifth, which I actually think might be the lowest of people in this list. Because you had him fourth and whatnot, but there's not really too much more to say on Mohamed Salah that hasn't been said. We've spoken about him a lot this year.
I was literally just about to say the reason I had Salah where I had him is because I do think his numbers are astronomical. They're out of this world. Salah has ridiculous numbers. I lean into the Gus Smote argument about Salah being the greatest statsman of all time, and there's not much for me to say about his playing game. I don't necessarily enjoy it that much. I respect the hell out of it. The consistency is unreal. Salah's with guys like Thierry and Kun Aguero in terms of all-time charts, scorers, so you should know where he's at. He's near the top. If you start hearing Thierry and Kun Aguero, you know you're near the top. And I think if Salah does get a 2 to 3 year deal, that he could genuinely end as like the second top scorer and the player with the most assists in the Premier League, as like a serious possibility, not just something that could potentially happen if Salah had 2 more crazy years. If Salah just stayed at this level, or even dipped a bit from this level in 2 seasons' time, he could genuinely be second top scorer. And all-time top assist in the Barclays Premier League. And that is why I had him where I had him. In terms of his all-round wing play, I wouldn't have him above a Mahrez. I wouldn't have him above a Sane. I wouldn't have him above a lot of these guys.
Is there a consensus that Salah was the best player?
But that's the thing. Because of the numbers, I think there would be that consensus that Salah was the best player. I think everyone would argue.
You want to say Kante?
No, I think everyone would. I think, look, I'm happy to make an argument for anybody else. I'm happy to make an argument for VVD. I'm happy to make an argument for, Mane, all of Henderson, all of these guys. But I just think
Fabinho.
That the easiest thing guys would say is if you take out Salah's goals, they don't win.
Yeah.
And, and you can say if you take out VVD's defending, all that kind of stuff, but that's what it would always come back to.
Yeah.
I just think with Salah, us Salah haters, and I was a Salah hater at the very beginning of Salah's time at Liverpool. When he first signed, I just could not get behind how shit this guy was and how he looked. I'm just coming off the Hazard generation. I'm just coming off the Hazard and Willian and Sanchez era of wingers who were good technically and athletes and all this kind of stuff. And now I've just got Salah, who needs like 3 or 4 touches to get a hold of that ball and 3 or 4 chances to score that goal.
Well, his 4th touch is the goal.
But now Salah's just been. It's obviously. I mean, I think also the biggest credit I can give Salah is it's so clear and obvious how hard he's worked on his game and how much he's tried to improve and be more efficient and more effective. And I will also be moving forward with the Salah mold and talking about how there's a new path for wingers to just be goal scorers, to just be like, I almost feel as if he maybe does belong on a separate list to a lot of these guys because out of all the players that we've mentioned, over Mahrez and all these guys, I'm not sure if Salah is just an out and out better winger than those guys, but he for sure is a better goal scorer and better assister. And some might say, well, that's all of wing play. I don't think so.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Salah, he does what he does to such a high level that you're a fool now to hate. He's got to be respected. He's got to be goated. He's got to be in any of the all-time conversations. I'll just leave him at 4th on my list.
Yeah, yeah. The consistency has been insane. Like you say, if you're gonna look at stats and you're gonna look at numbers, then Salah's gonna be
your guy.
Your guy. He's gonna be someone that you look at. If you do, and Liverpool fans won't like us saying this, but if you're going to look at a guy who with all-round wing play,
yeah,
they'll tell us about Salah's assist numbers, and Salah gets assists, and we've had conversations off air, and I've said Salah's game has changed in my opinion.
Yeah, it has.
From just like a nasty ricochet goal, like 3-4 touches to refined efficiency. Travella assists, whatever else he's doing. But I still think there is a difference between like what Salah could potentially like. This might be a bold statement, but I mean we're here now, so I think that Mahrez winning the league at Leicester is a better achievement than anything Salah has done in his career.
I want to agree. And Salah hasn't achieved it yet. Like, I think it's better than the 2 Prems Salah has and the Champions League Salah has, for sure. But I think if Salah does finish sort of second in goal scoring behind Alan Shearer and first in assisting, it could be comparable to Mahrez winning the league. And Mahrez winning the league will at Leicester. Mahrez winning the league will still be statistically just impossible. And Mahrez was an unknown quantity. No one expected anything of Mahrez, let alone to go on and get 16 and whatever he did in that season.
Or whatever,
So I'm not against that. Also, I agree with your statement as of today, right now, that Mahrez winning the league at Leicester is sort of more impressive than anything Salah has done. And I don't think Salah, even the Salah of this season, partner him with Vardy, wins the league. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. But I do think that from my expectations of what I expected of Salah, if you had told me 7 years ago that, this guy's going to finish as the second most goal scorer and the second or the most assister in the Premier League, I would have laughed in your face. I'd have laughed you out the room. I'd have said you're bonkers. I'd have looked at Lampard or whoever's top assister and said, bro, you're nuts. Yeah. And I would have looked at
Cess is up there.
I'd have looked at Harry Kane on 213 goals and been like, he's never gonna catch.
Yeah.
That's
the thing with Salah is almost at the end of every season, you think, okay, so that was Salah's best season, and now the drop off comes and whatnot, and then the next season he goes again. One thing that like I can't really understand Salah being above Mahrez though is that like Salah doesn't have an AFCON.
Yeah, he doesn't. I think that's massive.
They both played that tournament.
No, I think that's massive. I honestly really do. And it's not that they both play that tournament. Yes, they do. But I think Egypt just have as big a chance as Algeria do to win the tournament.
Arguably bigger, though.
It's like
I don't think that Algerian team that Mahrez won it with was that good.
It's not like exactly. It's not like, for example, Mahrez plays for Brazil in Copa America and Salah plays for Ecuador or Honduras, and he's never meant to win a Copa America. He's just happy to be there. Yeah. No, it's up for grabs.
Qualifying is almost as good as winning. Yeah,
it's up for grabs.
Yeah,
like the AFCONs for them.
And how many finals has he been?
He's been to 2, I think. He's been to 2. I don't know if it was. Obviously, he had the one with Mane.
Yeah.
Which, hey, Mane, when it's crunch time, this is what we do.
Salah's.
And it was nasty from Salah. He was waiting for the photo shoot penalty.
The fifth one. Yeah.
And then I think he might, because Egypt were in the final before that, but I don't know if that was pre-Salah's time.
Okay.
Or
I feel like he has lost 2, but that Mane one, isn't that the one where Salah was kind of stinking it up
the whole time, and he was
yeah.
bailed out bare
Yeah.
times. But I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, the AFCON crowd, they did him dirty. The lasers. In
The lasers was yeah. I
the
remember that.
lasers in the eyes.
Hey, look, I'm sure. I don't know, but I'm sure
Hey,
Mahrez
but
had to
this
deal
is
with.
why I respect the AFCON. So whoever gets his hand on the AFCON, I know you've gone through heaven and hell to get your hands on this trophy, bro. You've done it all. You're qualified. You're certified.
Yeah. So look, as you guys probably could have imagined, if Salah is second, if Hazard is third, if Mahrez has been mentioned, first on our list by quite some distance, Cristiano Ronaldo. Everyone had him first except for Michael and Mitt. Michael
had
Henry. And Mitt had Salah. Everyone else had Ronaldo first.
We're in the top two.
Yeah, I think Cristiano Ronaldo, I think maybe he won 4 titles and won the Ballon d'Or while he was here, all the scoring records, 30 goal seasons, everything he's done, Champions League winner. When you talk about wing play, when you talk about Jogo Bonito, when you talk about everything, efficiency numbers, everything, other than first touch, which I'm still giving to Riyad Mahrez, everything else,
he's your guy.
Yeah, it's Cristiano Ronaldo.
I honestly think I told you that David Beckham came with the whole like 7 on your back, like pretty boy hair, focus on like being not a pop star because I can't say that was David Beckham's focus, but like that whole balance between pop star and footballer.
It's exaggerated because Fergie had such a hold on that like any sort of life,
flair,
just not even
a highlight,
just general life,
a yellow highlight in your hair.
Any sort
you've taken things too far.
Boot at your head, any sort of general living of your life outside of the game, Fergie was not.
He was instantly against
the Neville brothers, and
so I just think that for whatever David Beckham was, and we've just given him his praise and credit, like Ronaldo was a new and improved version of that virus. Like David Beckham
walked so Ronaldo could run.
It's like the opposite of COVID and Omicron. Omicron was a little bit weaker and a lot more digestible. It's the opposite. Ronaldo was stronger. Ronaldo was faster. Ronaldo was quicker. Ronaldo could head the ball. Ronaldo could take free kicks. Ronaldo wore the number 7. He had the aura. He had,
I definitely think there's a point in that from David Beckham though, because I think Fergie's treatment with Ronaldo probably looks different.
Yeah,
if he doesn't have the altercation and falling out with Beckham that he. Because then when he comes to Ronaldo, he's seen that before, and then he's obviously seeing the talent as well.
I'd give it to that point, and I would also give it to the introduction. Like it seems like around the millennium era, around 2000, there was just an influx of foreign talent into the league. Yeah, and I think Sir Alex Ferguson was looking at things like, I can't treat Ronaldo the way I treated Beckham or the way I treated some of these other guys in the past, because one, the league is so good now, certain other players are going to get the upper hand, and 2, like these guys can go on to be superstars, megastars, great players in the league, and if I don't change, I push them away, like David Beckham, and he goes to Real Madrid, and he goes a season earlier, he doesn't get the treble or the 3-peat or whatever, So yeah, it was a sign of the times, as well as the treatment of Beckham. He must have learned in it. He must have saw Beckham go on and thrive at Madrid and thought that guy would have still been good for us today. Yeah,
and like you say, you want to talk about like everything being more advanced. There was probably also an element of like, well, this kid is just so special.
Yeah,
that like I can't. And Fergie probably still had his fallings out, and
of course it was different,
obvious stuff. But there is sort of like a. I mean, the reason they signed him is because
he was balling in that game.
They had a preseason game. Yeah. John O'Shea was on that side, and John O'Shea comes in after the game and tells, sign this.
Oh, I mean, I can imagine John O'Shea seemed nothing like Ronaldo.
Apparently, everybody was ripping John O'Shea afterwards because he just got skinned by Ronaldo for 90 minutes.
I still look at, there's been a lot. I mean, there's always Ronaldo comps on the timeline, but I was looking at some of the like Ronaldo Premier League moments. I'm not even talking about like the moments like the free kick versus Portsmouth or all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about like near misses. I'm talking about times when he hit the post. I'm talking about times where like he ripped a man and nothing came off the plate.
Yeah.
He was still just like a level above everyone else, or brought a level of like, we've never seen this before. I was telling you, bro, some of those shots that Ronaldo would take from 35, 40 yards, 50 yards He has no right to take this shot on. He's gonna rifle the crossbar 50 yards out.
Well, even the ball striking, he came up with a
A
way
whole
of
new
striking
way,
the
yeah.
ball
You have to hit the
that
valve
nobody
to get the
has
additional.
ever done before.
I just think that Ronaldo kind of like the Beckham in all facilities, in all departments, on and off the pitch. It was just so goated in the Premier League, and I'm one of those guys. Look, we've always said that. We've both said that Messi is like the best player of all time and all this kind of stuff, but I do genuinely think it would have been hard, or at least it was hard, or it was hard for me, but it would have been hard for people to root against Ronaldo as a child watching Ronaldo play. I like if you grow up and you mature and you realize how good Messi is.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But his arrogance, his confidence, the way he would just strut around the place.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was so easy to get on board with. Oh yeah, this guy's special, and he backs it up because he's scoring. Because you're scoring every week.
It made it a lot easier that he left.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I want to prop this with. He's just there at Man United, banging goals for however long. But yeah, look, I think that's fairly obvious. It looked fairly unanimous. So I'll go through our top 10 once more. In 10th place, Gareth Bale. 9th place, Sadio Mane. 8th place, Thierry Henry. Respect to the GOAT. That guy, he's number one, but obviously guys just didn't view him as a winger. 7th place, Robert Pires. 6th place, David Beckham. 5th place, shockingly, Riyad Mahrez. 4th place, Ryan Giggs. 3rd, Eden Hazard. 2nd, Mo Salah. Apologies, Chelsea fans. It's just we put the numbers in, we crunched them. This is the data that came out. And 1st place, the best Premier League winger of all time, according to the people I've asked, according to us on the sofa here, Cristiano Ronaldo. So, thank you guys for listening. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if you think, I know Chelsea fans might be in the comments, Salah, how can you have Salah?
Yeah.
If there's any Algerians that watch this podcast, I tried to get the boy up there. Man United fans might not be happy that Giggs and Beckham are even 4th and 6th, but I think that's pretty nice. No ranks. So let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, who's missing?
We'll do MVPs and rookies.
I've got an MVP for Andrea Berta.
Yes.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard, my friend. I like the links already. I like that you seem to be about
in Ornstein Bomber 2 hours later.
I like to see that you're down to work and
there's news about Saka's contract.
Diligent. With diligent,
Very
Andrea
nice,
Berta,
very
MVP
nice.
from me.
I'll give one to Josh Giddey.
Oh yeah.
That was a crazy like passage of play, 3 possessions or whatever it was. I'll give one to Kawhi.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't think that Kawhi. They thought Kawhi was finished. They thought Kawhi is not coming back and doing nothing. The Clippers are doing all right. Kawhi's putting up points. Who else is there? Luka had a good game the other day.
Yeah. Rookies. Kepa.
Yep.
I'll give one to Kepa Arrizabalaga.
Even though he saved the pen.
Even though he saved the pen, I just feel like every time I watch Kepa or Bournemouth play,
he should have saved that one.
He's just thrown one into the back of the net. Bournemouth have done so well to stay in the game and to be aggressive and all this stuff, and then Kepa's just going to undo all the good work and throw one in the back of the net. Eze, MVP.
Yep, deserved.
Got to get an MVP. Goal, assist, quality.
MR9. Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, got to get an MVP.
We up. I'm trying to think from the FA Cup games if there's any rookies I can give, but they all seem to.
Yeah, we've really given it to Kepa. I can't even blame Fulham too much.
So yeah, that might be it.
Yeah,
that might be it. So look, thank you guys for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed that episode. We'll be back next week with some Premier League content. Obviously, there's midweek fixtures. Quick prediction before we go: Chelsea, Tottenham.
I think Chelsea will win 3-1.
3-1. Is that the bridge? Life, death, taxes. Chelsea beating Tottenham.
Yeah, I think Chelsea will win 3-1.
I'm going Tottenham 2-1.
Yeah,
Big Ange, please.
We'll see.
Right, let's go.
See.
Tottenham are going to win at Stamford Bridge for the 2nd time ever in the last 30 years or whatever. Please, come on. Van der Ven's back, Romero's back. There's no excuses.
Come on.
But yeah, look, we'll catch you next week. We'll talk about all the fixtures that have gone on. So thank you guys for watching this podcast. Let us know your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that. Follow us on Spotify, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.